Thank you for that. President Donald Trump making waves on Capitol Hill with his endorsement for the House budget proposal. So that endorsement comes amidst a months-long budget battle between Republicans in the House and Republicans over in the Senate. So the two chambers pushing two separate budget blueprints. The president posted to social media to back the House version. He says in part, quote, "The House resolution implements my full America First agenda, everything, not just parts of it." The president goes on to say on social media, quote, "We need both chambers to pass the House budget to kickstart the reconciliation process," close quote. CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small joins us now. So we're talking about that process that the president wants to go into called reconciliation. Explain what that means and explain also the reaction to him putting his thumb on the scale saying, use the House's plan.
So, Reed, the reconciliation process allows Republicans to push through legislation in a way that would avoid a filibuster from Democrats here on the Senate side. Although House Republicans could easily pass any bill without necessarily the support of Democrats, considering the rules of that chamber only requires a simple majority. There's a 60-vote threshold that resides on this side that has ultimately killed quite a few bills. So utilizing this process that only requires a simple majority is how Republicans plan to push through major policy proposals and legislative agendas for Donald Trump. We know, though, that not only could we get an idea of how effective that social media post will be for Senate Republicans, but also we'll know that in a couple of hours because the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is on the Hill today meeting as we speak with Senate Republicans, likely to talk further guidance on how to move forward. What's interesting, though, I had conversations with several Senate Republicans this morning. None of them were really too eager to abandon their bill, especially considering they were a bit earlier to the process with this, and they were likely going to push for a floor vote as early as tomorrow. So we'll see what happens after this meeting, but so far it appears that Republicans are skeptical about completely abandoning and waiting for House Republicans to take the lead on this one.
Well, I also want to ask you about Trump's Labor Secretary pick, Lori Chavez-DeRemer, sitting face-to-face with senators for her confirmation hearing. What stands out from you in that hearing so far?
Well, so what's interesting about her confirmation process, quite a few Republicans have had skepticism about her nomination, considering she was someone who was traditionally considered more pro-union, which is at odds with the basic tenets of the Republican Party. Her support for the PRO Act, this pro-union legislation in the past when she was a congresswoman, was something that was questioned by both Democrats and Republicans on this panel. In fact, Senator Bill Cassidy and Senator of Kentucky, his name slips me as there are many senators that are questioning her today, circled back. So many. They circled back on that and asked her to clarify where she stands on it today. She gave them pretty much a non-answer that didn't sit well with Democrats on the panel. The reality of this, though, is so far no confirmation or no nominee who sought confirmation from the Senate has faced significant pushback from Republicans, at least enough to block them. So far, the biggest person that had the most tumultuous confirmation process so far has been Pete Hegseth, and only 3 senators defected from the party, but he was still able to get through.
Right. And Taurean, also happening on the Hill today, a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing over online safety for kids, big tech, addictive algorithms, artificial intelligence, all talking points there. What's going to come out of this?
Yeah, so many things happening on the Hill, so I keep this one brief. But we know from this hearing, this is one of those rare opportunities for bipartisan agreement on what should happen to big tech and these social media companies. Both Democrats and Republicans during this panel talked about how they believe that these corporations haven't prioritized children when it comes to their products, and they think that it's high time for legislation to move forward around regulating exactly exactly how the free market when it comes to social media handles parental advisories or guidance for how it handles children. So that's one, I guess, silver lining and what has been a very tumultuous Congress so far, that they both sides agree here that there should be more protections around children's use of social media.
Torian, I'm also glad you're there because you can give us sort of a legislative branch reaction to something that came out of the executive branch by way of President Donald Trump's post on social media today. He said in part, quote, speaking about President Zelenskyy of Ukraine, a dictator without elections, Zelenskyy better move faster. He is not going to have a country left. In the meantime, the president goes on to say we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something all admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Any fallout on the Hill? Because we have to keep in mind, Congress holds the purse strings. Congress has greenlit in the past sending money to Zelenskyy for his war against Russia. And now the president is using those very dollar figures against Mr. Zelenskyy.
So Democrats have obviously come out to decry the president's words and seemingly ongoing feud with Zelenskyy, saying that it could be detrimental to the progress for these peace talks. Republicans, though, the Republican response has been pretty interesting. So Senator Kennedy of Louisiana said that he doesn't agree with the president's words, but didn't go as far as to say that he believes that this could fall short of some type of agreement. He said a settlement hasn't been reached yet, so he won't say he completely breaks with the president on this, but he puts the blame, especially when it comes to the start of this war, solely at the feet of Vladimir Putin, the Russian president there, of course. I do want to circle back to Democrats because I talked to two members of the Senate Ukraine caucus. That's Senator Dick Durbin and then Senator Richard Blumenthal. This is what Blumenthal had to say about what the president said. Hey, Senator, you mind if I ask you about the president's comments on Ukraine?
Yeah.
Just your reaction to him seemingly implying that Ukraine started the war with Russia, and then just recently he called Zelenskyy a dictator.
What world is he living in? It is not only contrary to the facts and the truth, but utterly despicable, a disgusting betrayal of a country that has bled and fought and died for freedom. And I am angry beyond words that our president has so disregarded the truth and the sacrifice of brave men and women who are upholding their freedom and ours. Their fight is our fight, and the president's surrender is pathetic and weak.
So the White House is doing a little bit of cleanup, saying that the president is obviously being forceful on these negotiations. Republicans, I should say, rather, are coming to the president's defense, saying that he has been the only person really working toward this peace talks and the solutions to this problem, saying that Democrats should hold the blame for the continuation of this war. Blumenthal also told me, though, that the Ukrainian caucus will meet eventually. This will be part of those discussions, but they're looking to maybe tamp down this fiery rhetoric. Though if it'll be successful in convincing the president to do that, that's another question to read.
Meanwhile, negotiations happening between the U.S. envoy and President Zelenskyy in Ukraine today. So much to talk about. Always great to talk to you, Torian. Have a good day, my friend.